talking about seeing things unfold. The Premier League is back. Match week 8 is here. Some tricky games coming up for the big boys. And I think we can safely say Leicester City against Manchester United looks like the big game to really focus on this weekend. Nick Mendola, though, let's start on another one, which has a lot of storylines swirling around it. Watford against Liverpool. Claudio Ranieri is the new man at Watford. He's come in for Xisco Munoz, which was a little bit harsh in some ways, but made a lot of sense in other ways. Liverpool have got the issue of their players returning from South America and maybe not having some of those guys available. What are you looking at for this game at Vicarage Road?
Well, since in the U.S. men's national team segment, I had a rare disagreement with Andy, I'm going to go back to what he talks about with Watford. I think that this is a spot for them to really pull a quote-unquote surprise to the extent where we might not see it a surprise. Because I've seen Liverpool challenged by electric, powerful, speedy attacks. And with Dennis and Sarr and what Ranieri is going to probably ask them to do in counter, I think that could really work out well for Watford. So, again, I rarely pick against Liverpool because they've burned me so many times when I've done that. But I went back and I watched a little bit of Watford because I was so down on them. And Andy had said so many positive things. And I saw a lot of what he's talking about. And I think specifically for Liverpool, that could be a danger.
Yeah, especially like you said, Ranieri with the counter. You think his Leicester teams seem to cause Liverpool a lot of problems with when Jurgen Klopp was obviously there and just finding his feet in the Premier League. Yeah, Watford, it's just interesting, right? They make chop and change managers, the mentality, it changes so often, but this does tactically make a lot of sense with the group of players they have. And I would argue that, you know, the mentality, Ranieri's already said it in his press conference, 40 points, that's all I want. He's going to find any way he can to get those points, but he has a horrendous start. The teams they're playing, they're pretty much playing all the big boys in his first 8 games in charge, so they could easily be bottom of the table by December, and then we now much of an uphill struggle. So it could go. It's just a cliche. It could go one or two ways, really, because it worked at Leicester obviously spectacularly well, and then at Fulham when he tried to do it a few years ago. Did not work well. Very similar situation. Andy, any points on Watford Liverpool?
Yeah, it's true that Munoz was pretty harshly done by to go so quickly, but it's also true that they probably got in a better fit for the squad that they have and what their objective is going to be this season. I think I would take Ranieri, battle-tested as he is through many stops throughout his career, the Premier League experience as well, obviously winning the title with Leicester, the way he'll all the points that you guys just made there. I really like this for Watford to the point that I would go back and revise my preseason predictions. I think this massively improves what their ceiling is and how good they can be this season. Not that I think they were going to be held back. I just think this is a really, really good situation now for Watford. And hopefully they stick with Ranieri for a full season, for maybe a couple of seasons, depending on how long he wants to be around. So I don't know about upsetting Liverpool this weekend because Liverpool are just starting to get the wheels turning and get back up to full speed once again, now that they've got the center backs again and they've got the rotation going up top with the four to play the three positions. It will be an entertaining game, though. If you're looking for one game that doesn't involve, say, your team this weekend, 100% recommend this one.
And it's the early kickoff on the Saturday as well. So Liverpool's players have been away on international duty, have to travel back from here, there, and everywhere. So could be a bit of a trap game there for Liverpool. And Ranieri said he will buy the Watford team a dinner, not just pizza like he did at Leicester a few times, but will buy them a full dinner if they beat Liverpool. So I don't know what more that millionaire Premier League players would want than a free dinner from the manager. So
Dilly dong.
Hey, you can't buy those vibes. You cannot buy good vibes like that when Ranieri comes in and starts buying the players' meals.
The Italian Ted Lasso.
The team spirit. Wow, that should be on a T-shirt. I'm sure it should. But I will be at Brentford Chelsea this weekend in West London, a new West London derby. I think we can call it that. First time it's been in the Premier League, and this is intriguing because Brentford had that massive win against West Ham United before the break, which kind of forgotten about given how big the Liverpool Man City game was on the same day. But they've had a great start to life in the Premier League. And I really think that Ivan Toney and Bryan Mbeumo can cause Chelsea's back three a lot of problems. I mean, they're so physical, they're savvy, they work great in tandem as a duo. One goes wide, one holds central. They can both do it all. And I'm really looking forward to being there because, Andy, I know Brentford's a team close to your heart, but being at that stadium, the energy on the opening day against Arsenal, I was lucky enough to be there. That was great. Great performance. Everything good about Brentford was shown up in that performance. But they've carried it on, that positivity in their games. It's not like they're just resting on their laurels. We'll see this a lot with newly promoted teams, but it just feels a bit different with Brentford. It feels like they actually had a squad in the Championship the last few years that was going to be better in the Premier League, and now that's proving to be the case. And with Chelsea, we've seen a few cracks appearing for Thomas Tuchel. I didn't think they were particularly good against Southampton, and kind of lucky after the Ward-Prowse red card to get a win out of that game. And they rotated players in and out, and against Man City weren't very good. Lukaku is maybe struggling a little bit for form and fitness. But they're still the reigning European champions, and they still look pretty good. But who wants to have a go at this game? Because I think this is going to be a really entertaining, tight game at the Brentford Community Stadium.
Yeah, I'll do a prediction on Brentford. All right. Everybody loves them right now, right? They're the newly promoted team. They're fun. They're picking off points off of some of the big teams. You like to see it early on. But they're going to do that to enough of the big teams that people are going to turn on them. Fans of other clubs are going to very quickly, I think, come to dislike Brentford for how competitive they are and how difficult they are to play against as well. And that's the number one thing that they've got, and I think gives them a very high floor and just a lot of stability as a newly promoted team is. Like you were saying, Joe, they do have the plan in place. They have the continuity. They have the comfort level and the experience of everybody playing together and playing in Thomas Frank's system. Now, I know it's changed a little bit from last season to this season for the move to the Premier League, but it's proven maybe even more successful than what they were doing in the past. And so I just look at it as a club that has good ideas, has different ideas, always willing to try new things. And the talent that they've got on the field, I think it speaks for itself. You know, Ivan Toney has come in and hasn't scored goals the way that he did in the Championship, but he has affected games just as much for this Brentford team this season. And the big man, little man combination with him and Mbeumo has been really, really successful. Against Chelsea, obviously it's a really, really big ask. The reigning European champions, Premier League title contenders and everything. But, we've seen them do it against a couple of the big boys this season already. They beat Arsenal. They drew Liverpool 3-3 in that incredible game. They beat West Ham before the international break. They're not scared to play anybody. And I think that's the number one difference between them and other promoted teams is there's no fear whatsoever for Brentford.
I'll take another step, Andy. And I just want to say, because I know that you maybe temper sometimes your bias, because I know you've been to the building and you loved them and you loved their promotion, but I think they're good. I think they're flat out good. Above average, above mid-table. The guy I love is pardon me if I say his name wrong, but Canos. I love watching this guy play. I think he's underrated, and if they can get past Chelsea, they've been within a shout, if not won the XG battle in every game, which is another thing we like to watch. But if they get past Chelsea, they get Leicester, who has European schedule congestion, and then Burnley, Norwich, Newcastle. So don't be surprised if they're right higher than you think going into Thanksgiving.
Wow, Brentford Champions League contenders. They
might win the league. Yeah,
you heard it here first. Oh wow, that would be something. Nick, Everton against West Ham, the David Moyes homecoming, I suppose we could call it. What are you looking forward to in this game? Because these two teams had decent starts to the season. Everton now more so than West Ham after West Ham lost to Brentford, but still two teams are well organised, well drilled, but you kind of see all of that going out the window in this one, right? And just, a bit of a a goal fest, I think.
My question, because Rafa Benitez may be still trying to win Everton fans over a little bit, is would these fans trade managers right now? Because West Ham has a little bit of a love affair with David Moyes. Everton has had a love affair with David Moyes and has that kind of Liverpool run on him. I think that the international break is an interesting time for both these teams to come out of it and to face each other, because it does feel very much like a litmus test. I have been expecting Everton to stay on their game, to continue to challenge at a very high level. But this is the sort of game where Rafa Benitez will be asked, well, what do you think of your team? And we'll find out by how he lines up, by how he attacks, because David Moyes is going to bring, pun intended, his players are going to bring hammers out onto the field.
Okay. Wow, that was a good pun. Yeah, that was a really good pun. Everton, really impressed with them against Manchester United. Andros Townsend, Damari Gray have been excellent, but been playing a lot without Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison. So as soon as those guys come back, that adds a whole new dimension to their attack, and you kind of forget about that. So yeah, West Ham, few cracks showing, but I think they're just rotating around. Declan Rice, Antonio, a lot of pressure on those guys week in, week out in the Europa League and the Premier League to do it. And maybe we're just starting to see the squad rotation and their squad not being that big impacting them slightly. Leicester City against Manchester United, Andy Edwards. That's a big game. And these two teams have been really close the last few years when you think about the Champions League battle, and tactically they're different in some ways, but quite similar in others on the counter. What have you got your eyes on ahead of this game at the King Power Stadium?
So as you say that, you say that similar in the way that they counter and everything, and you're absolutely right. And so that makes me question, why do these two clubs, given the difference in size and the expectations and the resources at play, why are they so similar? Why is there nothing to really differentiate between these two teams, I guess? And you can say, well, Leicester have been good over a number of years and they've been building a project smartly and everything. But also part of it is Manchester United, disappointing a bit, underperforming just a little bit. And I kind of feel like that's where they are going into this game. And the international break for them probably came at a really good time where they could just step away, hit the reset button a little bit, maybe get one or two players back healthy and fit for what is now going to be a fairly extended run of league fixtures. I still have all the same questions about them, though, that I had to start the season. It is, how do they control games through possession? I've not really seen that. And what do they do if Ronaldo is not scoring or if they're not winning penalties? And so I don't really think we have any answers to any of those questions at this point of the season. And so I don't know. This is a tough place for Manchester United to be in, I think, because they have gone out and brought in Ronaldo. So they have the eyeballs. All of the eyeballs are on Manchester United once again, which is what they wanted. But they don't have the manager in place that they want for the long term. We know that. They thought about getting rid of him in the summer. They thought about getting rid of him the year before. And so they have these two there's this really good situation on one side, this really bad situation on the other, and they're just stuck in the middle somewhere. And I don't think they really know where to go.
You kind of imagine, right? What if Brendan Rodgers was in charge at Manchester United? Where would they be? Would they be challenging for the title? I mean, I think probably with the players at their disposal. But the key thing ahead of this game is that Leicester have defensive injuries. They have had all season. Yeah. Manchester United have a couple of big ones. Raphael Varane got injured when playing for France over the international break. Maguire looks like he's still going to be out for this game. So Jamie Vardy running a makeshift United defence and centre-backs. Not really a recipe for success for Manchester United. So I'm sure Ronaldo will bail them out at some point, but I could easily see a draw in this game. I think it's so evenly matched between those two teams that, yeah, again, after the international break as well, I think probably suits Leicester slightly more than Manchester United, but that'll be a really good one this weekend to look out for at the King Power Stadium. Okay, some other games to keep an eye on, guys. Newcastle against Tottenham, obviously, is going to be a lot of excitement in the air at St James's Park with the takeover completed. And, there's a lot going on there at Newcastle, of course, and Tottenham not in great form heading into this one. Harry Kane struggling for goals. Heung-min Son's looked a bit better after his return to the team. So that's an interesting game to keep an eye on. Arsenal against Crystal Palace. Nick Mendola, Patrick Vieira heading back to Arsenal. That should be quite an emotional moment, I think, for him and for the Arsenal fans as well. So what do you see for that game? Because the Gunners are good, and I think Palace are pretty good as well, right? And both teams have found their feet in recent weeks.
I've enjoyed watching both M23 derby rivals, Palace and Brighton, this year. You know how I feel about the Seagulls. I had to work them in there, but what I was impressed by, I bring that up because watching that game with Palace, I know Brighton gets that point late, right? They get the equalizer, but I think they're pretty good. And I think Vieira is going to start getting more buzz because of what he's doing. They had to basically assemble a line. They had 9 players in July. So, and we all maybe rightly thought they would not even be where they are right now, which isn't to say they're good. I don't even think, I don't feel as comfortable with them as I say about Brentford being good. But I will say this, I kind of like Vieira. I like him being in the situation. But I also think we might be seeing an Arsenal team that is really enjoying the good vibes right now. Things seem to be breaking their way. You had mentioned Tottenham before. They may be missing 4 guys this week. Arsenal just keeps dodging really significant injuries to their key players with the exception of one. So I think this could be a sneaky good game to watch too. I like almost every game on the fixture list this week.
Yeah, like I said, a lot of tricky games for the big boys. Tottenham, Arsenal, Man City are at home against Burnley. That's never easy. Chelsea away at Brentford, Liverpool away at Watford. So a lot of good stuff to come in the Premier League this weekend. Over at Pro Soccer Talk on NBCSports.com, we'll keep you updated with all the latest news, how to watch, the previews, recaps and analysis. The 3 chaps you can see on the screen. We'll be watching every single game, and we love it. We absolutely love it. It's great to have the Premier League back. International break was good. Premier League being back is awesome. And that does us for Pro Soccer Talk this week, guys. Thanks so much for joining me. Speak to you all very soon. Enjoy the games, and thanks for watching. Cheers.
Hi there, I'm Rebecca Lowe, studio host for NBC's coverage of the Premier League. Don't forget to hit subscribe to watch highlights all season long, and be sure to tune in for Premier League mornings every weekend at 7 a.m. Eastern. And for even more content, head over to Peacock, where we've got live games, original series, and a dedicated round-the-clock Premier League channel featuring studio shows, classic matches, and much more.